Welcome back. Here with a friend of the show, to say the least, Lynn Eldridge, Executive Director of Early Learning Coalition, talking about the third annual ArtKidDoo coming up on May 2nd, right here in Chipley, Florida, in beautiful Washington County. When we come back, we're going to be talking about all this and more, and this is one you're going to want to grab a rope and hang on to, because when we get Lynn on the show, we're sure to have a good time. We'll be right back. While you've been speaking, we've been showing on the screen images from the first and second ArtKidDoo. What struck me, just as you point out, was that the fact that the adults and whoever happened to be with the children, along with the people that were organizing and conducting the event, were in there making the sand castles and the finger painting and the one big board with all the handprints all over it. We did have some music. We did have some performing arts.
We did.
We also had the Garden Club come in and art organizations, Washington County Arts Council, a big sponsor of the event.
Sponsor, yes.
Each of them individually displaying and, more importantly, allowing children to participate in whatever their chosen art was. We also had animals there. We had not a petting zoo, but rather an up-close and personal look at some miniature deer, some albino deer, and some rabbits, if I'm not mistaken. Again, showing some of those images on the screen. You have pared the event down a little bit. I think the first couple of years you tried to do a 4-hour event and realized perhaps it was a little bit long. This year, 10 to 1. Shivers Park, a lot of people say Shivers. If you say that, you will be reprimanded by somebody in the community.
I promise you will.
I had my wrist slapped when I first moved to Chipley about that, and although I still hear Shivers, I say Shivers.
Yes.
That seems to be the old school name. Shivers Park is centrally located downtown, just off I-10, off Highway 90, Main Street, which is Highway 77. So no matter if you're coming from the Tallahassee area, Defuniak or Fort Walton, Dothan or Panama City, very easy to get to. And Susan's done a great job with directional signage, some of the little yard sale signs showing that.
Right, how to get here.
I know that you've got a huge number of businesses and public organizations, nonprofits that have come to the table, but there are a few that have stepped up. I know the TDC and Head Start. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, the Washington County Arts Council, right here, actually was with us at that very first ArtKidDoo and helped us frame what we wanted ArtKidDoo to be about by kicking off a contest. The children's paintings that actually got judged, and very cool, and that will be happening again this year, and that was so exciting. But so they've always been at the table with us, helping us frame this. In addition, Head Start has been instrumental in helping us do things that we didn't have funding to do. You know, they're invested here in Washington County, but also very invested in children. So they were a huge piece of us in the beginning. This year, the TDC, the local TDC, has come on board and said this event makes sense to us. Now, we'd love it to be a Friday, Saturday, so we're thinking about that, but it makes sense to our communities. And we were thrilled that a business rep looked at an ArtKidDoo and said, hey, this makes sense for our community. And to us, that's exactly right. So the businesses that have come on board to partner with us, and there's so many, we're so very appreciative that child care centers come and they actually set up booths. We've had banks say we'll donate this. We've had health organizations say we'll donate this. We've had restaurants and food places, we'll donate this. So there's just really, I'd be afraid to miss one. So if I would, I don't want to offend anyone or make them feel like it's not appreciated, because none of this could happen, Paul, without the community coming together and saying, we believe this is good for the children and the families of Washington County. And so the sponsors, we've had those few that really stepped up and put the majority of the dollars. Paul, I know you don't like it, but without Goulding being a part of this from the beginning, we really would not have been able in ourselves as a coalition to fund the marketing that has been provided and consistently keeping us in the community's eyes. So I know you don't like me to say it, but you're actually a huge part of why I feel like ArtKidDoo has been successful. It is because the businesses, the local businesses, really do invest in their community. And Paul, you don't have that in every area. You know that, and I know that. I'm responsible for 7 different counties, and whenever, I just told you this morning, whenever we try something that's a little bit off the edge, we come to Washington County because if it's good for families and it's good for children and it's good for the community, we find partners who raise their hand and say we want to be a part. And that has happened again this year. So we're very grateful for that.
You know, by state statute, bed tax money is supposed to be spent to market tourism within that same county that collects the tax. And so every county is different. I think that 61 or 2 counties of the 67 in Florida have tourist development councils and collect bed tax. But at the end of the day, people look differently at that expenditure. Yes. But even if people don't come and stay overnight, heads in beds is the term most frequently used. It still drives attention to that county.
Yes.
And I dare say that for the last couple of years for this event, we've had people come from Holmes, Bay, and Jackson County, and maybe even farther, but I know for sure people from there have come to the event.
They have. And I think last year we were over 600 or 700 people through the doors for the event. And now this year we've actually been contacted by businesses and organizations they'd like to be a part of it. And as far away as Dothan, because they just, and I know that's not so far away with Chipley, but when you think of this little community, you don't automatically think that people would get up and make a plan to go someplace on a weekend with their family that doesn't cost them anything except the gas it takes to get there. And yet what we're hearing is that Washington County is less than an hour's drive, and that's not a big deal for folks to get in and just go spend the day with their family and their children at something that's fun and relaxing and educational at the same time.
Yeah, and you pointed out one of the more poignant aspects of the event, and that's that it is totally free.
Yes, it is.
Not only is it free to attend, but while you're there, you're going to get an opportunity to do lots of activities that in a festival setting you would typically pay for.
Right.
I know that food is available. I think there's a minimal cost for food.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I think it was $1 for a hamburger or for a hot dog or something like that, or whatever it was.
But and drink and something. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very minimal.
Yeah.
And that was on purpose, and that's why we need the sponsors, because it's exactly right. We didn't want anyone to be excluded.